Hey everyone, we're going to do a quick overview of the new version 4.9. Like always, just because I say that a version is available, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing development for a while. I'm always going to be adding new features and enhancements, and of course, if anyone finds any bugs, as you hopefully have experienced, fix those immediately and push a patch back up. So this is something I want to make sure that no one ever has a bad weekend. We are going to fly through this version 4.9 update quickly. I've actually already recorded this video once, at least mostly recorded it. And I looked down, the video was 50 minutes long, and I still had 6 more things to cover. So that's how many features are in this update, and that was with me trying to go quickly. So I'll even cut it down even more, see if I get it down to less. We're at a spot though where version 4.9, thankfully for a lot of people on the users forum, or thanks to a lot of people in the users forum, and also to my timing crews and something that I've been working on too, is we're actually not just testing it whenever I announce a new feature. I try to get people to test it to try to break it, and so we want obviously to do our hard testing before race day. That way we can go into race day with confidence. So we're going to fly through these features real quick and just kind of give you a quick overview of how they work. Often this is better than simply reading a headline and trying to understand it. So um, when you click on open race, you'll notice that the race is now. This is, again, I can't remember which user recommended this, but it made perfect sense to me. The races sort in descending order based on date. And so in the past, as you added races, it would tack them on the bottom. Well, if this database I'm using doesn't have a lot of races in it, but often we would get it to where it's scrolling off the screen. So you have to hold your mouse down and let it scroll to find the one you want. And so now it's got, all future or, the most current races at the top. So it should make it easier to find. You'll also notice that whenever you right click on a race, you have the option to delete or duplicate. So that'll make it a lot faster than having to, if you're going to duplicate or delete a race in the past, you'd have to open it up, click on the name of the race, and then go on the bottom left and look at where it says delete or duplicate. All right, so that's the second thing, and then third thing I'll cover, and again, we're going to fly through this. You can always stop and rewind and go back if you need to. It's custom giveaways, so let's just pick I think this race doesn't have anybody. So if I click on the name of the race, you'll see a new giveaways tab here, and you'll see this race doesn't have any giveaways, and you may be thinking, well, crap, I don't want to have to type in all the shirt sizes. Well, most races, or I say a lot of races, are going to have t-shirts are given away, and so you simply click on click on that link I just showed you there, and it will throw in all the values that were available before version 4.9. But of course, you can simply click on one, delete it, or I'm gonna say wristwatch or something. I don't know. You can call these whatever you want. And so what's nice with this though is that whenever you go to add athletes, you'll see that you have the option to actually check off multiple giveaways. So if someone could earn multiple things. So maybe the race is giving away hats and shirts, and you wanted to add, all sizes of hats and all sizes of shirts. You can put all that in there and say, okay, he's getting a small hat and a large shirt. So that's available. And then of course I fixed the results, statistics, or the race statistics, and any other report that deals with shirt sizes to where it lists the giveaways. Okay, I've made it to where when you add divisions, it's should be a lot nicer now. So if I go to divisions here, I may actually remove a lot of these. So 2 things you'll notice here is that on the far right, you'll actually see which divisions have been excluded. In the past, my head timer usually sets all of our races up for us, and then when he says, okay, Brian, you're timing this one, or Mark, you're timing that one over there, or whoever we've got going wherever. He will have everything set up for us, and we simply, get the database, and we take over talking with the race director and importing athletes and all that stuff. But he usually has, everything set up, and often he even gives us the bibs and tags and everything. So he's the man. But often in the past, I would get paranoid. I always double check everything because, in race morning, you want to make sure, because it's your head on the line, right? So, I mean, you don't want to print results off and realize, oh, something's wrong, and you got to scramble, try to figure it out. So I always double check everything. I even go back and check all the tags, make sure they're programmed right. And so in the past, I'd have to double click on every division to make sure the exclusions were set right. But now the way it works is, I can go to add a new division, and I can check off the exclusions. So I want to say, well, if they win overall male, I don't want them included in the, whatever division I'm adding, which right now is 0 to 9. And I want to say, I want to, whatever I'm setting up here, do this for the opposite gender too. So I'm going to create a female 0 to 9, and I'm going to exclude the female overall runners. And so you'll notice that as you change it from one sex to another, and the moment you leave this field here, it changes the spelling. So in the past, you would also have to manually type in the description. When now you no longer do. So I can type in combined, it changes it to mixed, and so on. So I'm going to pick on do male, and exclude the overall winners. And then you'll notice when I hit save, it created a copy for the female 0 to 9. And it also does the gap for you here. So let's say that there's 10-year gaps or 5-year gaps until the age of, let's say, 20, and then it goes to 10-year gaps. So I'm going to 20, 29. And so now you'll see that as I hit save, it's creating all these divisions. Let's just do 70 plus. So now you see how quick and easy I can add all my divisions, and it does all my exclusions. Oh, I guess I didn't check the exclusion there, but you get the idea. And so adding divisions should be a lot easier with this update. Let's go to the next thing. And I'm going to quickly go through things. I don't mean to not be very friendly here. I'm just flying through them. I'm going to go to Results Kiosk. Actually, I'm going to pull this up in a second. The feature I need to show you is not in the kiosk. It's actually on the clock screen. Let me close that out. So this is something I've always wanted to add, but I want to be very careful on anything I do with the clock screen. Especially when it comes to automatically publishing results somewhere, or doing something besides timing, because I don't want, keep in mind I've got lots of, hundreds of customers out there using the system. Some people probably have computers that are 15 years old. I mean, who knows how old and how little space they have on the computer and how little RAM they have and whatever. So, I try to do my best to make sure that during a race the clock screen is not going to crash. The actual process of taking a picture, that's a simple command I send to the camera. That's not actually, pulling the photo across to the computer or doing any extra work. So that doesn't, that's not hard. But I did want to go ahead and add the ability to do auto copy of the database. And so the way this works is when I start the clock, I can select, and then before I select auto copy, let me show you the backup location. So let me pull the clock screen over here, and in fact, to see both, I got to minimize this other screen. So let me make this one smaller too. Alright, so here's my backup location, and you'll see the database file, Windows 10. Oh, there we go. It's got a date modified of 4/2/2016. So whenever I pull up the clock screen, let me get this where I can see it. And then make this to where you see both screens here. This computer's I need to restart it, getting kind of slow. There we go. Alright, so we can see both screens. If I do auto copy, we should see here in a second that it will push a update of the database out only after 3 seconds that there's been no activity, no reads, no splits, no nothing. And so whenever I press the button here, it should, right there, you see it just pushed the copy out. So if I'm timing a race, and you'll see that it will not push another update out. Right now it's got 11:44. It will not push another update out as long as I'm hitting the space bar and putting people in. Right now I don't have any athletes. It will wait until after 3 seconds has passed, and then it will push an update out. Now the time still shows 11:44, but if it was 11:45, it would have went ahead and pushed an update out. Now on the kiosk, if we had that open, you'd see it refresh. So the point is the auto copy. In fact, you see it here. I just realized I forgot I added that. So copied at 128. So now let's add some more finishers. And you'll see that as I continue to hit the space bar, it is not pushing a copy out. Now, if you find yourself timing a race where finishers are coming in so quick that you don't have that 3 second gap, you can always come over here and do like before and manually press F7. Now you'll notice that when I let go of when I stop hitting the space bar, let me let 3 seconds pass, and you'll see that the copy that it was now updated to let you know when an update was pushed out. So you can look at this screen and know, if it's going out or not. In the past, it would simply say successful. Well, the problem is when it says successful once, you don't know that it's successful the second time because it simply says successful again. It doesn't, there's no real change there on the screen. So at least now you can get a visual clue that updates are going out. All right, so that is the auto updating process of the kiosk, and I did make this an option. I didn't want to make it to where it's just there by default and automatically does it, because if for some reason it's causing a problem, your computer's going slow or whatever reason, you can always turn it off and then manually do it whenever you want to. So that's the auto update process of the kiosk. Let's go ahead and open the kiosk, and I'll show you some new features with it. And first, I got to pull up a race that. Let's see. Okay, so I know I did. This is a small race with time. So let's pull up the results. Actually, this database doesn't have the time, so let me close this out. It's connecting, okay, so it found the reader. Alright, let me pull up a race that's got times. Maybe this one. Okay, good. So if we go to the results kiosk, alright, you'll see that this is the way it typically looks, and it loads the results, and then you'll see it kind of highlights as it goes down. Right now it's going down, doing the auto scroll. I never really care for that because often people, I have touchscreen computers there on my at the results kiosk, and so people love it when they can use their fingers, swap around, see what they want to see. So now I've made it to where you can turn auto scroll off, and if you turn auto scroll off, you also have the option to switch between the results. Now, I announced it a few weeks ago because we had one customer that said, look, when you took away the division breakdown, which I had to do whenever there was a dramatic change with 4.6 on how everything was, custom athlete types and everything. So it really took a lot of work to add this back in, but I finally got it. So I've made it to where you can add back in the division awards. So this race had one overall winner for most divisions. In fact, you'll see a number of awards won all the way down. For a standard race, you'd have like top 3. But you'll see what it does is it allows you to show the division results, and I can simply turn auto scroll off, and that will continue to update this list, but it won't just be scrolling all the time. So you can turn auto scroll off, and you can simply have it go back and forth and stay on one set of results if you want. So I can turn it maybe to just division results, and then turn that off, and now people will be able to see updated division results. And with this, and they've always been able to do this, but it was scrolling to where it made it impossible. You can actually touch your name here and then hit the print button in the bottom right, and that prints your performance instead of having to do your bib number. But let me actually see if I can find a different race that's got more than one overall winner. That was not a race at time. Let's see. Let's just pull up one of last year's races. Sorry about this. Let me see if I can. Okay. Well, you get the idea. It will put in green the ones that are listed as division winners. So that's how that works. One thing you may have seen whenever I was going through all the screens here is that I removed. I gotta remember which. Let's see, what was that? See if the resolution runs got times. Okay, so I removed. You'll see even here the 100th position is gone. So if you pull up the clock screen, of course, this is a really old race. You'll see that it no longer lists the 100th position on the clock. Now, I think it does whenever you're first pulled up, but it's no longer there on the clock screen, and it's no longer there on the results. So that is new. All right. The next thing I added is the ability to, and this is something too that I should cover. In the past, whenever you tried to close the clock screen, it would simply close it. It didn't give you any kind of warning. Now, I hadn't heard that this had, cause any problems for anybody, but it does disconnect the readers and everything. So now at least we'll warn you, are you sure you want to close the clock screen? You hit yes. And then it'll close it for you. But while we're on this screen, I'll show you the next thing I did, which is if you click on import, you'll see you have the option, instead of doing just Excel file, you can also do a database file and a delimited file. And this could be any kind of delimited file, comma separated, semicolon, or whatever. And the way it works is you simply pick your delimiter, and then from that point on, it works exactly like the Excel import. So a lot of online registration companies, export or at least have the option to export the participants in all kinds of different formats. And so if the race director doesn't give you the credentials so that you can grab it yourself, they may simply send you a random file And then, some computers, if you don't have Excel or OpenOffice, it can be a pain to get it in Excel format. So, now you can import that file no matter how it's limited. And then this database option, the way it works is if sometimes I'm timing a race where they start maybe the marathon or the half marathon and the 10K early, but then still do the 5K registration while those races are going on. Well, that can be difficult because you've got, your computer at the finish line. If you've got finishers coming in while you're doing registration, somewhere else, typically that involves two computers. That way you've got one doing finishers, and you've got the 5K participants. And so it can be kind of tricky, except until now. So now you can have a computer set up at the registration area doing the 5K registration, and then whenever it finishes, you simply copy that database to a jump drive, plug it in your finish line computer, and then at some point before the 5K finishers come in, you will minimize the clock screen. Now, when you minimize it, it continues timing in the background. So if you get a break in the action, just minimize the timing, the clock screen, and then you'll see the option when there's multiple races to right here beside the import, you'll see the option to pick the 5K, and you'll simply import from the database, pick it, and it will ask you, do you want to overwrite your list of participants, or do you want to append to it? And the case I just gave you, you may want to say overwrite, because what if during registration, maybe your finish line computer had some of their entrants in it, maybe the pre-registered athletes, but let's say during registration, some of those 5K people, swap to a different athlete type or who knows what. So you would want to overwrite those. But like I said, you do have the option to simply append to your list, only the new entries. So that's a new feature for 4.9. All right. Next thing is on when you're timing, it is cross country season. And so, apparently this is a big deal in Texas. Whenever you, time a cross country race, they want to be able to see the average time of all scores. And so you'll notice now that when you pull up, the team results, you'll have that listed beside each team, the average time of their scores. And that's on the front page, the very first page, which is just a simple listing of all the teams that completed and then the incomplete teams. And then as you go to the second set of results for the, basically the team results is 3 results in one. You got your simple team overview. You got your team with all the scores and how they place. And then you've got the third part is simply the overall results of everybody. And so you'll see in the top 2 here, it's got the average time for each team. All right. The next thing, and again, I apologize for going as fast as I can to try to fly through this. The ThingMagic interface. So, this is primarily for international customers. The Thinkify reader is not available for sale outside of North America. And so international customers that want to use the results kiosk or the tag check or, be able to have a USB reader to program tags easier, or maybe they want to use the photo booth feature, or have a backup reader on the finish line. Basically, all the things we do with the TR200, they want to be able to do also. And so, instead of having to use a big reader, they really didn't have an option. And so the ThingMagic USB Plus and the USB Pro provide that capability. And the way this works is whenever you hook it up to your computer for the first time and you click on really any screen, it doesn't have to be this one, but any screen that searches for readers, and that's what it's doing now, is searching for readers. It will load the ThingMagic reader, and the very first time it loads it, now this computer, it's already attached it once, but the very first time it does, it'll pull up this screen here. And this simply asks you to pick which region to set the reader to. And so here, the way this works is, let's say, and I'm going to pick a random country. Let's say you live in Finland. And Finland is not in this list of compatible regions that the reader has in it. But every frequency range should be. And so what you'll do is you'll find a frequency range in your country that matches one of the ranges here. And really, and I want to specify this, really it's not so much, legally you're supposed to buy equipment that works in the frequency range allowed in your country. You may find yourself in a situation where you've got antennas that aren't in the frequency range allowed by your country. So what you want to do is you want to pick the region that matches your antennas. That's the most important thing. And so, what you'll do is you'll click on the link here if your country is not listed, if you're not sure which of the options to pick there. And I'm going to do Control F and pick Finland. And then when I do that, you'll see that they're on the Etsy technique here, and that's 865 to 867. And so all you have to do is pick the region that matches that. So here's one here. I'm in North America, so I'm going to pick North America and hit save, and that's all you do. Again, if you make the wrong selection, you only see this option to change ThingMagic region if you have a ThingMagic reader. So this will not get in the way of all the other customers that don't have it. And I added this refresh button too. So sometimes you pull this screen up and then you attach your Thinkify, your ThingMagic reader later. This refresh button simply goes out and searches the USB ports and will add it for you. Let's see. So I think that's basically it with the ThingMagic. So the next thing I'll talk about is a raceroster.com interface. This is not as robust as the run signup interface, but it has all the core features you would need. In fact, one of the other timer in my region, he is, I think, partnered with Race Roster, and of course, frequently we're taking his races, and so if the race was already on raceroster.com when they hired us, then we can ask, and the most race directors are more than happy to do this because it gives them less work. That's one less thing for them to have to remember. We simply ask them for their credentials, and of course we can do change account. It will default to your account, but you can do change account, put in theirs, and it loads their list of races. Now this is just like the run signup interface. This is the list of races that you don't already have in the software. And so if I'm going to pull in a race, you simply check the one you want, and I'm going to hit add checked races, and it will say, hey, do you want to use the bib numbers on the website or use your own? Let's say that I've got my own set of bibs. So I'm going to say mine started at, let's say, 712, hit enter, and then now it's adding all those athletes in. And there's that race. What's nice with the race roster interface is, like I said, the interface has got the basic stuff where you can pull in races and pull in participants. So if I hit sync right here, it will pull in anybody new that registers, let's say tomorrow or the next day or whatever. But let's say that I decide, you know what, the race is on Race Roster. Maybe the race was already there, or maybe you choose to use Race Roster for your online registration. However, you like the run signups. I love the idea of their new photo feature where you can upload photos, and they've got logic in there that helps tie the photos to people just using Google Vision and cool things like that. And so you may like that. Plus, you like the ability, like I do, of uploading the finish line video to YouTube and then linking the run signup results to the YouTube video. Really cool stuff they do there. So you may decide, you know what, I'm going to use Race Roster for my online registration, but run signup for my results. What's nice is with this interface, I've made it to where you have the option to do both. So even though this is linked to Race Roster, you can come in here and say, well, I also want to submit this to run signup. And so this is simply saying, hey, you've got a team race. It looks like the race I pulled in on Race Roster is a team scoring road race. It's telling me you don't have scores and display, so I'm going to say yes, continue. So here, as you see, I'm submitting this to run signup's test environment. So I'm going to hit log in, and looks like I've already published one out to run signup on the same date. In fact, it looks like it's the exact same race name, so I'm going to hit no here and pick a different date. Let me cancel this. Sorry. Let's do March. So now let's go through this again quickly. And then you gotta take away any invalid characters. Alright, so now you'll see that I can have the race listed both on Run Signup and Race Roster. So when I hit sync, in the screen behind this one, it'll actually pull in athletes. If let's say that, because there's some races, I've seen this, where they do have registration hosted at multiple sites. They think that that's going to get them more exposure, and I try to discourage them from doing that because it could cause confusion if Joe Blow registered a month ago and he finds a link to the race, on a different site, and he doesn't see his name, he could be panicking, right? And so, if the race is listed on both places, when you hit sync, it does pull in all the participants from both websites if it's got new people there. Also, what's nice is on the time race screen, the clock screen, when you hit publish results, it'll push results up to both sites. And so, as I add interfaces, I'll find a way to make it to where it's nice and clean and works for multiple sites. But now with this, like I said, you can have registration hosted on one, but then post results on the other. Alright. And one thing I will say, by the way, is as of today, and I'm hoping by the end of the week or sometime very soon, one thing that's not finished yet with the Race Roster interface is the ability to push athletes back up to Race Roster. So if you manually add athletes, it first of all, when you hit sync, it pulls in any new entrants, and then when it will try to push up it will ask you if you want to push up any manual changes. And right now, if you hit yes, it will not work. That's something we're working on now. And it also does not publish the results up to Race Roster. So this is not a complete interface, but if you get hired to time a race that's on Race Roster, at least you can do the core stuff you need, before race day. So, and of course, as soon as it is complete, I will post a note on the users forum for people to know. All right. So again, we're trying to fly through the next few things here. Oh yeah. So while we're on the screen, this is something that, in the busyness of life, most of you guys are like me. We have a full-time job. We do race timing on the side either because we love torture or because we love running and timing. And so, it's busy. So I've added this thing as my own peace of mind to say, hey, before race day, make sure these things are done. So this is also something that if I have I've got a lot of new timers using the system. And so this is something I can say, hey, make sure to go to the tips area and read that over. And this is something that simply, if you read this through and you've got everything settled that's in here, you're probably in good shape for race day. And so this is a good thing to check out. Even me who, I've timed races for years, it's still nice for me to come in here, get my own peace of mind the night before race day. Yep, I've done that. Yep. I've got all my bases covered. And so I've added this in just, as a, nice thing for new timers, or just, like I said, give you peace of mind before race day. All right, so I'm going to go over, I think, the remaining things. I mean, there's still some big things here that may be big to you guys, but I kind of got them listed at the bottom of the list here. But one thing that I've done is if you have the tag check screen open, by the way, only one screen can connect to a reader at a time. So if I have my tag check screen open and then I try to open the clock screen, the reader on the clock screen will not connect because it's occupied by the tag screen. So I've made it now to where, and that I haven't had any reports of that biting anybody, but there's been a couple times where in the busyness of going from registration to the starting line, because it never ends when it's supposed to end. When people are in line with money in their hand, the race director's not going to turn them away. And so, I always have a volunteer with a stopwatch to capture the time just in case I can't make it. So I'm never that panicked, but there are plenty of times where I'm having to really rush from registration to the starting line. And half the time I simply just, I usually leave, I bring enough TVs, I leave one at the registration area, and I simply unplug my TV that had the tag check station up, and I run over to the starting line, and I will forget that I've got the tag check screen still open in the background. And so, again, it hasn't bit me, but there's been a couple times before the start I realized, whoa, I better make sure that's closed because I can't connect to my readers as long as that's open. And so, I've made it now to when you open the clock screen, it automatically closes the tag check screen. Another thing I've done is whenever you right click on the list of participants, or if you click on the export button here, it will add some new columns. We've got some people that like to export to Excel and then put in their own company logo and a header file, and then maybe put a watermark in the background of the results, and they can fancy move the columns around, do whatever they want, get it exactly like they want, and then maybe export that Excel file to HTML. They do all kinds of stuff. But now that Excel file contains overall place and division place and probably some other things that it should have all the things you need now to do a complete set of results. I've also fixed something you may have seen on the clock screen or the results. In the past, it would randomly show freshman out beside, you wouldn't say freshman, it'd say FR in the class field or type field. And I finally figured out what that was. It was a minor thing and got that cleaned up. I also found that, and you may have seen this on the public display or on the results, it would have a open and closed parenthesis out beside someone's name. I found out what that was, and that's also been cleaned up. With version 4.9, the software no longer defaults the state to Arkansas. So if you create a new race, then it will, not have a default there. This is something that someone requested to where they get Excel files to import that have only the year instead of a date of birth. The Excel import or comma separated import, delimited import, handles importing just a year now. So if you move simply a year to the date of birth field, it will import that just fine. So and I may have covered this a second ago, I can't remember, when closing the clock screen, it now prompts you to say, whoa, wait a minute, are you sure you want to do this? In the past, if you hit the red X in the top right corner, it would simply close the screen. I would assume, okay, you're done, and you close it out. I don't think anyone has said that caused a major problem, but that does disconnect the readers. So if you accidentally close it out, it takes a couple seconds to bring it back up and get the readers connected. And so I made it now to where if you try to close the clock screen, it will prompt you and say, "Hey, are you sure?" And you hit no. Of course, it'll stay on it. On the door prize screen, I've made it to where you can now pick which races you want. In the past, you can only do door prizes for one race at a time. And so now, if I come over here, you'll see it says, hey, because you may have, like I've got different crews timing different, races all around, in the tri-state area, or even further away than that. And so, let's say that this is my head timers race and this is mine. I can pick which race I want, but if they're both mine, of course, I can say, well, I want all the athletes for all these races. And so, in the past, like I said, you can only do one race at a time. And what's nice with the new door prize feature, I've added the ability to say, I only want finishers. And really, just so you know, the way this works is it's not just finishers, it's anyone that was picked up at all that day. And so if they have at least one split time, so if you're timing a multi-lap race, and if they have at least one split time, they will be included as people eligible for door prizes. On the clock screen, I've removed the store RFID activity at the bottom of the readers section. This is something that no one has ever asked me about, really. No one's ever used. I only used it when I first was building the system, and I kept it in there because I thought maybe other people want to use it too. To where I could set up let's say I set up overhead antennas and I was testing bib tags. Well, on this screen, I could say I want to store all RFID activity, not just simply, list all the finishers. And what would happen is I could search that activity, and say, hey, with this setup, when this bib number came through, I picked it up, 80 times. And maybe when I turned my antenna a different way or had a different setup, the guy would run through and I only picked it up 12 times. Well, that tells me, okay, that's not, performing as well. And so, the thing is really all that did, no one ever used it. And, even if they did accidentally turn it on, it simply took up resources the computer, didn't need to be wasting his time on. And so, now that I've explained how I use it and how it works, I'm afraid people are going to be like, oh, wait a minute, I want that back. No one in years has ever touched it, as far as I'm aware. So I just took that out. One thing I'll say is that I found, there's only been a couple times I've tried to use the photo booth feature at a large race. Usually I'm so busy with setting up the results kiosk and tag check, and typically I'm by myself. So, the photo booth is not a big thing to set up, but usually I'm so busy that I don't bother setting it up. But the couple times I have, I always seem to walk over to it midway through the race and find that it's not responding. And I think I figured out what that is. I did some tests in my home and it seemed to work fine. So if you've tried to use a photo booth before, or if you want to try to use it, try it again. If it didn't work well for you last time, it's a really cool feature and what all it does and how it works. I really, want to set it up at more races. But, so the point is, if you've tried to use it, I think I've got that fixed to where it shouldn't, eventually say not responding. In the past, if you had databases, I'm seeing more and more customers rename their database to say, maybe it's a race name. If you tried to import splits from a database that had something different than the default name, it used to error out. I fixed that. Something else too, when you're importing splits, let's say you've got a split station at the quarter marathon, half marathon, 3/4 marathon mark, or maybe a triathlon you're timing. When you import split times, the program will say, hey, I'm going to back up your database in case importing these times doesn't produce the desired result. Well, that's all good and dandy until the second time you try to import splits. And what it does is it simply pushes another backup out to that same location and overwrites your first one, which, was one before any splits. And so really you can only go back one step instead of going back to the beginning and re-importing it all again. Well, with this version of the update, or the 4.9, it will now create a separate folder for every one of your backups. And so you can always go back to your original database with no times imported. So that's a new thing with 4.9. And with 4.9, you can also, if you DQ athletes on the results, when you view it on the screen, you actually see the line through it, of an athlete you marked as did not start or did not finish or DQ'd. But the problem is there's a glitch in the reporting services report, that utility whenever you export to PDF, and that's not something I put in, that's just built into the report. When you export those results to PDF, well, that strikeout font is not compatible, I guess. It doesn't work. It doesn't show anything. So you can't really see that an athlete has been disqualified whenever you export to PDF. And so what I've done is as a workaround for now, and hopefully the next report viewer control will have that fixed. But as a workaround for now, for any disqualified or DNS or DNFs, you will see instead of where it's got their place. And now, by the way, it always has pushed all the disqualified athletes at the bottom of the results, and only the overall results. They're not included in the division results anyway. But on the overall results, it always pushed them to the very bottom. But you couldn't tell that they were disqualified. You don't know why they were down there if you were looking at a PDF copy of the results. But now, where it shows their place, instead of showing a place number, it'll show either DQ, DNF, or DNS. So that's something new with 4.9. So this video is probably pretty long, and I was kind of looking over my shoulder back and forth. I hope I covered everything with version 4.9. Like I said, I'm pretty excited about this update. If I didn't cover anything, I'll try to post some notes right here while I'm kind of stalling while I think. Post some notes in the video. And of course, I'm going to post something on the users forum, and I may even do the mass email, like I said, I may have said before, to where I email everybody that's ever been interested in the system to kind of let them know what all is included. So I really hope you guys enjoy this update. Looking forward to seeing your feedback, and I appreciate again all the people that basically try to break it. It sounds weird to say that, but I appreciate that. You guys have been an awesome group. I've following some other timers forums, and they're nowhere near as helpful and as polite and friendly as you guys. So I couldn't be more proud. So this has been a great joy to have you guys as my customers, and it provides a great passion for me to make this the best product I can. So all right, well, I've got another all the other features, by the way, in the features request. I do have them listed. In fact, I've thought about maybe, I don't want to delete that old thread, but maybe saying, okay, that thread is done. Let's start a new thread. And then maybe the very first post is I'll post a summary of all the other things that are remaining. Now, some of these things, by the way, are, I know for sure that the person, how do I explain this? I think when they posted it, they didn't like discover, oh, wait a minute, there's this other thing that's more important. So I'm just simply posting everything that is not covered already. So I may start another thread that says feature requests, maybe post 4.9, or I don't know what I'll call it, and we simply go from there, because the feature request that was there is getting old, and it'd be kind of hard to dig through. But anyways, I'm kind of rambling again. I'll stop this video. Looking forward to seeing how you guys use it, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, thanks.